I just got a notification right up here on my computer. And it says tomorrow is going to be the first day of Hanukkah. And look, let's see if I can grab it. I have this really cool menorah. Isn't it awesome? Well, they call it a Hanukkah because it has 9, but a menorah would normally have 7. Oh, there goes my neighbor. He's starting up his little, what's it called? Dune buggy thing. Yeah, so this is when I take opportunities to close the window. It's probably going to be really loud and noisy, but anyways, look at how beautiful this tree is. Isn't that pretty? With beautiful rhinestones, gold. I love it, so pretty. When I stopped doing Christmas, I asked my friend from high school, do you know a place where it sells menorahs? I want to try and see what that's all about. The menorah. And I found out in the book of Maccabees, which I'm reading on my channel, it started with certain evil people, it said, from Jerusalem. They let the Greeks in and they combined, and they had a gym and a swimming pool. And it says they covered up their circumcision, which maybe was a bathing suit. That's the only thing I can think of. But they were coexisting, they were coexisting. And that's a problem. Well, as a sociologist, I understand that everybody should keep their cultures, but also sometimes we have to, try to work with each other and all that. But according to the book of Maccabees, which is very interesting, by the way, and I'd love to read it some more. I think I probably will. I don't know if my neighbor is going to start up with his loud dune buggy thing, so I'm going to have to put it on pause until I find the book of Maccabees, and then I will come back. Okay, my neighbor stopped with his little dune buggy, and now I found a new book of Maccabees. This was the second book because I already did number 3, reading number 3. And that was the end of the book of First Maccabees. So now we're on Second Maccabees. And let's start reading this and let's see if this is duplicating of anything I've already read, because I noticed when I saw that there were 5 book of Maccabees I did not know. And they were saying that sometimes they had switched them around. So this could be the very same thing that I have already read in the others. There's 1, 2, and 3, the book of Maccabees. And like I was saying, it really kind of relates to the temple, the defiling of the temple. And you and I, we are earthen vessels, just like this. This is a symbol. This is symbolic of a vessel that can contain oil. And you and I can contain the Holy Spirit or the Spirit of God inside of our vessel, our earthen vessel. This is one that's pounded and, made into an image per se. And it's not like we're supposed to be worshiping anything like this. This is probably by putting it before our eyes, it should remind us of that we are containers. And we're also like a tree, which should be planted by living water, like it says in Psalm 1. So let's just see if we have some quiet time. This is great. No flies, no wind. Let's read 2 Maccabees 1:1, the second book of the Maccabees. Who are the Maccabees, by the way? The Maccabees were brethren. The brethren, the Jews that be at Jerusalem and in the land of Judea, wish unto the brethren, the Jews that are throughout Egypt, health and peace. God be gracious unto you, and remember his covenant that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his faithful servants, and give you all a heart to serve him and to do his will with a good courage and a willing mind. and open your hearts in his law and commandments, and send you peace, and hear your prayers, and be at one with you, and never forsake you in time of trouble. And now we be here praying for you. I like that. And now we be here praying for you. What time as Demetrius reigned in the 169th year, we the Jews wrote unto you in the extremity of trouble that came upon us in those years, from the time that Jason and his company revolted from the Holy Land and kingdom, and burned the porch, and shed innocent blood. Then we prayed unto the Lord, and were heard. We offered also sacrifices and fine flour, and lighted the lamps, and set forth the loaves. And now see that you keep the Feast of Tabernacles in the month of Caslu. I don't know what month that is. Maybe some of you can write down in the comments below. In the 168th year, the people that were at Jerusalem and in Judea, and the council and Judah, sent greeting and health unto Aristobulus, King Ptolemy's master, who was of the stock of the anointed priests, and to the Jews that were in Egypt. 2 Maccabees 1:11, page 2. In so much as God has delivered us from great perils, we think him highly, as having been in battle against a king. For he cast them out that fought within the holy city. For when the leader was come into Persia, and the army with him that seemed invincible, they were slain in the temple of Nanea by the deceit of Nanea's priests. For Antiochus, as though he would marry her, came into the place, and his friends that were with him, to receive money in the name of a dowry, which when the priests of Nanea had set forth, and he was entered with a small company into the compass of the temple, they shut the temple as soon as Antiochus was come in, and opening a privy door of the roof, they threw stones like thunderbolts, and struck down the captain, hewed them in pieces, smote off their heads, and cast them to those that were without. Blessed be our God in all things, who has delivered up the ungodly. Therefore, whereas we are now purposed to keep the purification of the temple, upon the 25th day, that would be the 25th day, that sounds interesting, of the month of Caslu, we thought it necessary to certify you, therefore, that you also might keep it as the Feast of the Tabernacles, and of the fire, which was given us when Nehemiah offered sacrifice, after that he had builded the temple and the altar. For when our fathers were led into Persia, the priests that were then devout took the fire of the altar privily, and hid it in a hollow place of a pit without water, where they kept it sure, so that the place was unknown to all men. Now, after many years, when it pleased God, Nehemiah, being sent from the king of Persia, did send of the posterity of those priests that had hid it to the fire. But when they told us they found no fire but thick water, then commanded he them to draw it up and to bring it. And when the sacrifices were laid on it, Nehemiah commanded the priest to sprinkle the wood and the things laid there upon with the water, that thick water. Whoa, wonder if it could have been oil. When this was done, and the time came that the sun shone, which before was hidden in the cloud, there was a great fire kindled, so that every man marveled. Wow. Like liquid fire, interesting. And the priests made a prayer while the sacrifice was consuming. I say both the priests and all the rest, Jonathan beginning, and the rest answering thereunto as Nehemiah did. And the prayer was after this manner: O Lord, Lord God, creator of all things, who art fearful and strong. Fearful? How is he fearful? Huh? I don't get that. I guess I could be fearful of him, and strong and righteous and merciful, and the only and gracious King, the only giver of all things, the only just, almighty and everlasting, thou that deliverest Israel from all trouble, and didst choose the fathers and sanctify them. Receive the sacrifice for thy whole people Israel, and preserve thine own portion and sanctify it. Gather those together that are scattered from us. That's a great prayer right there. You know how like your family members might be in different parts of the country. And you know, you can say a prayer that we'll once be together again. That would be nice. So let's see, where are we? Gather those together that are scattered from us. Deliver them that serve among the heathen. Look upon them that are despised and abhorred, and let the heathen know that you are our God. Punish them that oppress us, and with pride do us wrong. They do wrong to us. Plant your people again in your holy place, as Moses has spoken. And the priests sung psalms of thanksgiving. Oh, that's pretty good. We just finished having, well, I guess it would be would it be a pagan thing of Thanksgiving? I think so, because we were taught in our history that the pilgrims were thankful and they were with the Indians that helped save them. But apparently with Christopher Columbus and how they ended up doing is killing the Indians and taking their land. So a lot of people don't do Thanksgiving, and a lot of people don't eat meat or turkey. But some people, they do get together and they have traditional American, you know, Thanksgiving dinners with turkey and stuff like that. So we just finished with that this last week. It's going to be December 1st on Wednesday coming up. Today is Saturday, November 27th. Anyways, so now when the sacrifice was consumed, totally burnt up, Nehemiah commanded the water that was left to be poured on the great stones. When this was done, there was kindled a flame. So it does sound like it was some liquid fire starter or something. But it was consumed by the light that shined from the altar. So when this matter was known, I was just thinking about magnesium. I had heard that when you put magnesium, it can be really flammable in a bright light. I wonder if it was something like that. I don't know. So when this matter was known, it was told the king of Persia that in the place where the priests that were led away had hid the fire, there appeared water, and that Nehemiah had purified the sacrifices therewith using that. Then the king, enclosing the place, made it holy after he had tried the matter. And the king took many gifts and bestowed thereof on those whom he would gratify. And Nehemiah, wonder if that's like Nehemiah. I don't know. Nehemiah called this thing Naphtali, which is as much to say a cleansing, but many men call it Nephi. 2. It also found in the records that Jeremy the prophet, Jeremy, was that Jeremiah or Jeremy? Oh, okay, hang on a second. Hang on. Nehemiah, or Jeremiah the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take of the fire, as it hath been signified, and how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord. Oh, don't forget. And that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. All right, hang on. I got to pause here for just a second. Okay, so let's see. And how that prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord, and that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. That's interesting. And with other such speeches exhorted he them that the laws should not depart from their hearts. That sounds good. For it was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of God, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain, where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of God. And when Jeremy came thither, he found an hollow cave, wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. 2 Maccabees 2:7, page 5. Which when Jeremy perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that God gather his people again together and receive them unto mercy. Then shall the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear, and the cloud also, as it was shown under Moses, and as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sanctified. It was also declared that he, being wise, offered the sacrifice of dedication and of the finishing of the temple. And as when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the sacrifices. Even so prayed Solomon also, and the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offerings. And Moses said, because the sin offering was not to be eaten, it was consumed. So Solomon kept those 8 days. 8 days. The same things also were reported in the writings and commentaries of Nehemiah, and how he, founding a library, gathered together the acts of the kings and the prophets and of David and the epistles of the kings concerning the holy gifts. In like manner also Judas gathered together all those things that were lost by reason of the war he had, and they remain with us. Wherefore, if you have need thereof, send some to fetch them unto you. Whereas we then are about to celebrate the purification, we have written unto you, and you shall do well if you keep the same days. We hope also that the God that delivered all his people and gave them all a heritage in the kingdom and the priesthood and the sanctuary, as he promised in the law, will shortly have mercy upon us. Let me just check this for a quick second. Oh, I have a feeling. Am I sharing the screen? I might not be sharing the screen. Am I sharing the screen? You are screen sharing. Okay, sorry, I guess I wasn't screen sharing. That's what happens when you get interrupted. So let me see. As he promised in the law, will shortly have mercy upon us and gather us together out of every land under heaven into the holy place, for he has delivered us out of great troubles and has purified the place. Now as concerning Judas Maccabeus and his brethren and the purification of the great temple and the dedication of the altar and the wars against Antiochus Epiphanes and Jupiter. Oh, Jupiter. Is that like Jupiter? Jupiter, his son. Oh, wow. And the manifest signs that came from heaven unto those that behave themselves manfully to their honor for Judaism, so that being but a few, they overcame the whole country and chased barbarous multitudes. Wow, that's awesome. And recovered again the temple, renown all the world over, and freed the city and upheld the laws which were going down, the Lord being gracious unto them with all favor. All these things, I say, being declared by Jason of Cyrene in 5 books, we will essay to abridge in 1 volume. For considering the infinite number and the difficulty which they find that desire to look into the narrations of the story for the variety of the matter, we have been careful that they will read may have delight, and that they are desirous to commit to memory might have ease, and that all into whose hands it comes might have profit. Wow. Isn't it strange sounding? Like it's so old and it's been translated, so it kind of comes out all PC like that. But it's talking about to read this story, many who come to read it will have delight, and that they are desiring to commit to memory so that they might remember, and to all whose hands this comes might profit us. So that's kind of cool. So I guess if we have this understanding of the story and know what happened if we remember the past, then we can, be sure that if it happens in the future, we'll know what to look for. So therefore to us that we have taken upon this painful labor of abridging, putting this together, it was not easy, but a matter of sweat and watching, even as it is no ease unto him that prepareth a banquet. So they're saying that it was all this information they're putting together in this book. It wasn't easy. And it's kind of like somebody who's preparing a meal for a banquet. It's not easy. It's hard. It's a lot of work. And seeketh the benefit of others. Yet for the pleasuring of many, we will undertake gladly this great pains. Wow. Do you hear how like it sounds like Spanish translation to English or something? We will undertake gladly this great pains. They're saying that we'll gladly do this hard work for the pleasure of many. Leaving to the author the exact handling of every particular and laboring to follow the rules of an abridgment. For as the master builder of a new house must care for the whole building, but he that undertaketh to set it out and paint it must seek out fit things for the adorning thereof. Even so I think it is with us. This sounds so poetic, but you kind of get the gist, don't you? The stand upon every point and go over things at large, and to be curious in particulars, belongeth to the first author of the story. But to use brevity, to make it short, and to avoid much laboring of the work, it is to be granted to him that will make an abridgment. They're going to edit it. Here then will we begin the story, only adding thus much to that which has been said, that it is a foolish thing to make a long prologue and to be short in the story itself. That's true. Kind of like when you're at Disneyland and you're standing in the line for hours just to get on the 3-minute ride. They're saying this foolish thing to make a really long prologue at the beginning and then just to be like short in the story. So 3. Now, when the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well because of the godliness of Onias the high priest and his hatred of wickedness, it came to pass that even the kings themselves did honor the place and magnify the temple with their best gifts, insomuch that Seleucus of Asia, of his own revenues, bear all the costs belonging to the service of the sacrifices. But one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city. Okay, Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was governor of the temple, he fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city. I have a feeling this is the bad guy right here, evil guy, Simon. But we'll see what it says. Fell out. Because the high priest, Onias, was all about righteousness, right? And if Benjamin or Simon from the tribe of Benjamin fell out with the high priest about the disorder in the city, he's like, it's okay. They can have a gym. We can go to bathing suits and stuff like that, and idol worship and stuff. It's all right. So let's see. And when he could not overcome Onias, he got him to Apollonius, the son of Thraces, who then was governor of Seleucia and Phoenice, and told him that the treasury, so that Simon guy was bad. This is what he did right here. This is the bad thing. This is why they are doing this, celebrating this, because this is how it started. So pay attention right here. Right here. So when he could not overcome Onias, the high priest, he got him to Apollonius, the son of Thraces, who then was governor of Seleucia and Phoenice, and told Apollonius, hey, there's treasury in Jerusalem. There's like infinite sums of money, so that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifices, was innumerable, and that it was possible to bring all that money into the king's hand. Right there. That's the temptation. That's about the money. Now, when Apollonius came to the king and had showed him of the money, whereas he was told, the king chose out Heliodorus, his treasurer, and sent him with a commandment to bring him the aforesaid money. Hey, go get that money, man. There's tons of money in the temple. Go get it. So forthwith, Heliodorus took his journey under a color of law of visiting the cities of Seleucia and Phoenice, but indeed to fulfill the king's purpose. And when he was come to Jerusalem and had been courteously received of the high priest of the city, he told him what intel was given of the money, and declared wherefore he came. Hey, I'm going to come and take your money. And asked if these things were so indeed. Then the high priest told him that there was such money laid up for the relief of widows and fatherless children. Wow. And that some of it belonged to Hyrcanus, son of Tobias, a man of great dignity, and not as that wicked Simon had misinformed. The sum whereof it all was 400 talents of silver and 200 of gold. And that it was altogether impossible that such wrongs should be done unto them that had committed it to the holiness of the place, and to the majesty and inviolable sanctity of the temple, honored over all the world. You see what they're trying to do? Trying to go in there and take the money because that other guy, who was the manager, got all butthurt from the high priest. He's all, hey, there's a ton of money over here. You should come and get it. I'm just saying. But Heliodorus, because of the king's commandment given him, said that in any ways it must be brought into the king's treasury. Give us the money. It now belongs to the king. So at the day which he appointed, he entered into order this matter. So he put in an order. Wherefore there was no small agony throughout the whole city. Everybody was all upset about this. That's the money for the children and the widows, and the king is coming to steal it. But the priests prostrating themselves before the altar. Hey, I've read this before. It's in some of my other ones. Yeah, this is what I was thinking. But it's okay, we can hear it again. Before the altar in their priest's vestments, called unto heaven upon him that made a law concerning things given to be kept, that they should safely be preserved for such as had committed them to be kept. Then whoso had looked the high priest in the face, it would have wounded his heart. For his countenance and the changing of his color declared the inward agony of his mind. For the man was so compassed with fear and horror of the body that it was manifest to them that looked upon him what sorrow he had now in his heart. Others ran flocking out of their houses to the general supplication, because the place was like to come into contempt. And the women, girt with sackcloth under their breasts, abounded in the streets, and the virgins that were kept in ran, some to the gates and some to the walls, and others looked out of the windows, and all holding their hands toward heaven, made supplication. They're like, Lord, please save us. Oh, I can't believe that these people are coming to steal the money at the temple. Please. It's like an abomination, Then it would have pitied a man to see the falling down of the multitude of all sorts, and the fear of the high priest being in such an agony. They then called upon the Almighty Lord to keep the things committed of trust, safe and sure. Father, we thank you that everything that we have in trust, that you keep it safe and sure, that had committed them. So let's see. 2 Maccabees 3:23. Nevertheless, Heliodorus executed that which was decreed. He's going to keep going. Now, as he was there, present himself with his guard about the treasury, the Lord of spirits and the Prince of all power caused a great apparition, so that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of God, and fainted, and were sore afraid. For there appeared unto them, this is new, a horse with a terrible rider upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering. Oh, and he ran fiercely and smote at Heliodorus, boom, with his forefeet, like a horse. And it seemed that he sat upon the horse and had complete harness of gold. Moreover, 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side and scourged him continually, boom, 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 and gave him many sore stripes. And Heliodorus fell suddenly to the ground and was compassed with great darkness, like he went, I'm out. Like it probably looked like he was having a, what was it called? Epileptic attack, because the other people probably couldn't see him. And then he just like blacked out. But they that were with him took him up and put him into a litter. I don't know what that is. A thing. Thus him that lately came with a great train and with all his guard into the said treasury, they carried out, being unable to help himself with his weapons, and manifestly they acknowledged the power of God. For he, by the hand of God, was cast down and lay speechless, without all hope of life. Like he was probably like totally in a coma. Yeah. But they praised the Lord that had miraculously honored his own place. For the temple, which a little afore was full of fear, before it was everybody's all fearful and trouble. And then when the Almighty Lord appeared, was filled with joy and gladness. Then straightway certain of Helidorius's friends prayed Onias that he would call upon the Most High to grant him his life, who lay ready to give up the ghost. They're like, please, please, Onias, high priest, could you please pray for Heliodorus? He's going to die. Pray for him, please. Don't kill him. So the high priest, suspecting lest the king should misconceive that some treachery had been done to Heliodorus by the Jews, offered a sacrifice for the health of the man. Now, as the high priest was making an atonement, the same young men in the same clothing appeared and stood beside Heliodorus, saying, give Onias the high priest great thanks, insomuch as for his sake the Lord has granted you life. And seeing that you have been scourged from heaven, declare unto all men the mighty power of God. And when they had spoken these words, they appeared no more. So cool. They had two angels come and say, hey, tell everybody that God was here. And you better be thanking that Onias guy, because he saved your butt right here. So Heliodorus, after he had offered sacrifice unto the Lord and made great vows unto him that had saved his life, and saluted Onias, returned with his host to the king. Then testified he to all men the works of the great God, which he had seen with his eyes. And when the king asked Heliodorus who might be a fit man to be sent yet once again to Jerusalem, he said, if thou hast any enemy or traitor, send him thither, and thou shalt receive him well scourged if he escape with his life. For in that place, no doubt, there is an especial power of God. For he that dwelleth in heaven has his eye on that place and defendeth it. And he beateth and destroyeth them that come to hurt it. And the things concerning Heliodorus and the keeping of the treasury fell out on this sort. This Simon now, of whom we spake afore, having been a betrayer of the money in his country, slandered Onias as if he had terrified Heliodorus and been the worker of these evils. Thus he was bold to call him a traitor, that had deserved well of the city and tendered his own nation, and was so zealous of the laws. But when their hatred went so far that by one of Simon's faction murders were committed, Onias, seeing the danger of this contention, and that Apollonius, as being the governor of Syria, and Phoenice, did rage and increase Simon's malice, he went to the king, not to be an accuser of his countrymen, but seeking the good of all, both public and private. Wow, look at that. Both public and private. For he saw that it was impossible that the state should continue quiet, and Simon leave his folly, unless the king did look thereunto. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus, called Epiphanes, took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, labored underhand to be high priest, promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another revenue 80 talents. Beside this, he promised to assign 150 more, if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise, a gym, and for the training up of youth in the fashions of the heathen. Oh, sports bras, togas, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochans. Antiochans, which when the king had granted, and he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to Greekish fashion. Wow. So it looks to me like Onias, who was the high priest, but after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, worked underhandedly to be the high priest. Ah, so Jason was evil, saying, hey, I'm going to give you some money, man. And maybe, you can call people the Antiochans, and we'll get some fashion and a gym and all that good stuff. Get the Greekish fashion going here. And the royal privileges granted of special favor to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Epolemus, who went ambassador to Rome for amity and aid, he took away, and putting down the governments, which were according to the law, he brought up new customs again against the law. Oh, interesting. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under his subjection, and made them wear a hat. Interesting, because when you wear the hat, it kind of tells you whose orders, like if you're a policeman or a fireman, they all have their special hat, or a construction worker, they got their special hat, or a top hat, or even their little leaf, their little leaf ring that they put on there, or on the Greeks when they win the Olympics. So now such was the height of Greek fashions, an increase of heathenish manners, through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest. Sick. That the priests had no courage to serve any more at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise. Oh, we're going to all work out so we can be in the Olympics. After the game of discus called them forth, not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. So they liked the sports places more than they liked serving at the temple. By reason whereof sore calamity came upon them, for they had them to be their enemies and avengers, whose custom they followed so earnestly, and unto whom they desired to be like in all things. For it is not a light thing to do wickedly against the laws of God, but the time following shall declare these things. Now when the game that was used every 5th year was kept at Tyrus, the king being present, it's probably the Olympics. I thought it was every 4 years. This ungracious Jason sent special messengers from Jerusalem, who were Antiochans, to carry 300 drachms of silver to the sacrifice of Hercules. No. Which even the bearers thereof thought fit not to bestow upon the sacrifice, because it was not convenient, but to be reserved for other charges. This money then, in regard of the sender, was appointed to Hercules as sacrifice, but because of the bearers thereof, it was employed to the making of galleys. I don't know what that is, galleys. Now when Apollonius, the son of Menesthius, was sent into Egypt for the coronation of King Ptolemy Philometor, Antiochus, understanding him not to be well affected to his affairs, provided for his own safety, whereupon he came to Joppa, and from thence to Jerusalem, where he was honorably received of Jason and of the city, and was brought in with torch alight, like the Olympics, and with great shoutings, and so afterward went with his host unto Phoenice. Is that Phoenicia? 3 years afterward, Jason sent Menelaus, the aforesaid Simon's brother. Simon's brother, to bear the money unto the king. Wow. And to put him in mind of certain necessary matters. But he being brought to the presence of the king, when he had magnified him for the glorious appearance of his power, got the priesthood to himself, offering more than Jason by 300 talents of silver. So he came with the king's mandate, bringing nothing worthy the high priesthood, but having the fury of a cruel tyrant and the rage of a savage beast. Then Jason, who had undermined his own brother, Onias, being undermined by another, was compelled to flee into the country of the Ammonites. So Menelaus got the principality. I think that means he got the job. But as for the money that he had promised unto the king, he took no good order for it, albeit Sostrates, the ruler of the castle, required it. For unto him appertained the gathering of the customs, wherefore they both called before the king. Now Menelaus left his brother Lysimachus in his stead in the priesthood. And Sostratus left Crates, who was governor of the Cyprians. While those things were in doing, while they did their stuff over there, they of Tarsus and Melos made insurrection because they were given to the king's concubine called Antiochus. Then came the king in all haste to appease matters, leaving Andronicus, a man in authority, for his deputy. Now Menelaus, supposing that he had gotten a convenient time, stole certain vessels of gold out of the temple and gave some of them to Andronicus, and some he sold into Tyrus and the cities round about, which when Onias knew of a surety, you know what a surety is? Someone who's taken the blame. You're the one that's responsible. He reproved him and withdrew himself into a sanctuary at Daphne that lieth by Antiochia. Antiochia. I did have chia seeds for breakfast today. Wherefore Menelaus, taking Andronicus apart, prayed him to get Onias into his hands. Get me that dude, man. He just rebuked me for doing bad. Who being persuaded thereunto and coming to Onias in deceit, gave him his right hand with oaths. Come with me, Onias. And though he were suspected by him, yet persuaded he him to come forth of the sanctuary, whom forthwith he shut up without regard of justice. That doesn't sound good. Sounds to me like they got that Onias guy, the good one, and then they shut him up. I don't know. Does that mean they put him in prison or something? For the which cause not only the Jews, but many also of other nations took great indignation and were much grieved for the unjust murder of the man. To shut up mean to kill him? Yikes. Oh boy, that's terrible. Oh. And when the king was come again from the places about Cilicia, the Jews that were in the city, and certain of the Greeks that abhorred the fact also complained because Onias was slain without cause. Oh man. See, that's the problem. When you rebuke somebody who's evil, they go and try and trick you and then they kill you. Oh, that's terrible. That's what people do, you know. It's called kill the messenger. It's bad. There's a lot of people, by the way, that like to do that. You rebuke them or you tell them, hey, don't be doing that. That's not right. And they get all jealous of you. And then they try to, find the littlest, minutest thing. You're bossing me around or whatever it is. They try to, and then they just, whatever. I'm just saying. We are supposed to be our brother's keeper, by the way. And using one silly little word, go tell it on the mountain. That doesn't mean that you're ordering somebody what to do. Just saying. Anyways, here we go. So therefore, Antiochus was heartily sorry. Antiochus was heartily sorry and moved to pity and wept because of the sober and modest behavior of him that was dead. Yeah. And being kindled with anger, forthwith he took away Andronicus, his purple, and rent off his clothes, and leading him through the whole city and to that very place where he had committed impiety against Onias. He just dragged him there. Like, he slew the cursed murderer. Oh, let me just go back up. Whoa. So Antiochus was very grieved and sorry that he was killed, that Onias was killed. And when he saw that Andronicus with his purple and took off his clothes and leading him through the whole city and to that very place where he had committed impiety against Onias, where he slew him, there slew he the cursed murderer. Thus the Lord rewarded him his punishment as he had deserved. Wow. So that Andronicus killed Onias, and Antiochus killed Andronicus, and he got his punishment that he deserved. Whoa. Yeesh. Karma is a bitch. Now, when many sacrileges had been committed in the city of Lysimachus with the consent of Menelaus, and the fruit thereof was spread abroad, the multitude gathered themselves together against Lysimachus, many vessels of gold already being carried away. Whereupon the common people rising and being filled with rage, Lysimachus armed about 3,000 men and began first to offer violence thereof in a war. One, Arenas being the leader, a man far gone in years and no less in folly. They then seeing the attempt of Lysimachus, some of them caught stones, some clubs, others taking handfuls of dust that was next at hand, cast them all together upon Lysimachus and those that sat upon them. Thus many of them they wounded, and some they struck to the ground, and all of them they forced to flee. But as for the church robber himself, him they killed beside the treasury. Whoa. Of these matters, therefore, there was an accusation laid against Menelaus. Now, when the king came to Tyrus, 3 men that were sent from the Senate pleaded the cause before him, but Menelaus, being now convicted, promised Ptolemy, the son of Dorymenes, to give him much money. I'll give you a bunch of money if he would pacify the king toward him. Whereupon Ptolemy, taking the king aside into a certain gallery, as it were to take the air, brought him to be of another mind, insomuch that he discharged Menelaus from the accusations, who notwithstanding was cause of all the mischief. Yeah, Menelaus, he was the cause of all that mischief. And those poor men who, if they had told their cause, yea, before the Scythians, should have been judged innocent, them he condemned to death. Thus, they that followed the matter for the city and for the people and for the holy vessels did soon suffer unjust punishment. Isn't that terrible? You know, people who are telling the truth, those are the ones that seem to get the unjust punishment and they suffer. And those evil ones, they seem to get discharged and all that. It's bad, man. Wherefore, even they of Tyrus, moved with hatred of that wicked deed, caused them to be honorably buried. And so, through the covetousness of them that were of power, Menelaus remained still in authority. Man, that sucks. Increasing in malice and being a great traitor to the citizens. So we're going to stop here and we will start again at 5. It's kind of interesting when you kind of hear about the drama of, you got some really good people that are God-fearing and honorable. And then you got this one who's like, hey, I don't like that guy. I want to bring him down. And then he goes and tells some other guy, there's some money over there you can get. And so they bring the guy to get the money. And then the people are just like crying out to the Lord and saying, hey, Lord, they're trying to steal money in the temple. So then they pray to the Lord, and then the Lord comes, and then this guy gets all beat up. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to do a sacrifice to save this guy's life. And that Onias guy is like, we better take care of this guy, because when the king finds out, he might think that we did something wrong. So he's given a sacrifice to him. And then this, whatever his name was, Hyrenichus or whatever, then he gets better and he's telling the king and everybody all the good stuff. But then later on, Onias has a brother named Jason, and Jason is the one that's undermining his own brother. And he's like, hey, I can get you that money, if you want it. And he's just doing evil stuff right there, It's like what people are always, what's the word? Jealous of the one who is the leader, or the one who's trying to get people with the righteousness. And then you got other people like the brothers or the people that are related, whatever. They try to undermine that one. And that's bad. That happens in real life too. Maybe you have that in your family situation. Maybe your friends, or maybe your Facebook friends. Think about those things. Today is what they would call the Sabbath. And this would be a good time to think about it. Remember, we're like this earthen vessel. And if you want to have your oil lamp filled with oil so that you can have the presence of the Lord inside of you, when he comes, you'll be able to see in the dark times, because times are getting dark and we need to have our light filled in here. So if you're one of those that are trying to undermine or trying to, make nice with the enemy or the world, trying to coexist and, do some of those bad things that are against God's law, you better repent. Think about how we are this earthen vessel. What do you want to have inside? Do you want to have the oil inside so that when the fire from the Lord comes and lights the oil in here, you have enough light to see in the dark times? That's what this is all about, people. Yeah, that stuff happens, and it happens in our lives now. But this is a symbol, okay? This is you and me. So we got to repent, get right, because the dark times are coming and you want to be able to have the light in you. So when the Holy Spirit or the Lord comes and the sun or whatever you want to call it comes and shines upon us, then that oil that we have inside of us is going to light up. It's going to shine. So we're going to shine our light in the darkness. I have a song about that. But I'll leave you for today, and we'll try to get back to this reading, okay? Book of Maccabees. This is the second book.